thing in the driveway. You ever wake up in the middle of the night and know something's off? Not because of a noise, not because of a dream, but because the air itself feels different. That's how it started for me 3 nights ago. The motion light outside my bedroom window kept flickering on. Every time I looked, there was nothing there. No wind, no rustling, just that harsh white beam cutting through the dark, the way a scalpel slices flesh, clean, precise, cold. I told myself it was the wind, or maybe a raccoon. Logic always wins when you're trying to go back to sleep. But logic doesn't explain patterns, and that light didn't just flicker, it pulsed. 3 times, pause, then again, like breathing. My house sits at the end of a cracked asphalt road where the woods swallow everything after dusk. The kind of silence out here feels dense, not peaceful, not empty, just thick enough to make you hear your own heartbeat. It's been that way since my dog Hunter died last winter. Used to be, he'd sleep by the window, one ear twitching at every sound. But now it's just me, the groan of settling wood, and the echo of a house too big for one man. That night, I got up, barefoot on the cold floor, and walked to the window. The light outside glared down on the driveway, empty. The gravel sparkled faintly. But right where the cone of light ended, the darkness looked heavier. Like something was standing just beyond it, holding still. I told myself not to stare. I closed the blinds. But when I lay back down, I could swear, between the tick of the clock and the hum of the heater, I heard breathing. Not mine. Slow, steady, from outside the window. By the second night, I'd stopped pretending it was my imagination. Sleep didn't come easy anymore. Every creak, every sigh of the house felt like it had intent behind it. The kind of quiet that waits. At 1:47 a.m., the light flickered again. 3 short bursts, then darkness, then 3 again. I grabbed the flashlight. This time, I wasn't watching from the safety of my bed. I went outside, barefoot, stupid. The gravel cut into my soles, grounding me in a way fear couldn't. The air was thick and cold, the kind that crawls under your skin and stays there. The beam of my flashlight wavered across the driveway. That's when I saw them, 2 muddy footprints, bare, human, pointing straight toward my bedroom window. They stopped there, no prints leading away. For a long time, I just stood there, breath frosting in the beam of my own light, trying to understand what I was looking at. I crouched down. The mud was still damp, fresh. Whoever it was had been here not long ago. The thought slid through my mind like a knife. They were watching me sleep. I called the police. They arrived with heavy boots and casual laughter, the kind meant to make you feel stupid for being scared. One of them, a younger guy with tired eyes, kicked at the dirt and muttered, "Probably kids. TikTok prank or something." But as they turned to leave, he leaned close and said quietly, "You might want to keep your lights on tonight." That's when I saw it. Just beyond where the footprints ended, the dirt sagged, as though someone had been standing there for hours, weight shifting slightly, patient as stone. The next day I called in sick. Not because I was tired, because I couldn't stop watching the driveway. Every sound outside made my muscles lock up, a branch snapping, the distant whine of a coyote. By nightfall, I'd set up a chair by the window. I told myself I'd stay awake, just to prove there was nothing to fear. At 2:11 a.m., the motion light flickered again. 3 short bursts, then dark, and then it stayed on. I leaned forward, flashlight trembling in my hand. There in the full glare, a shape, tall, still, facing my window. The third night, the light never came on, and that, more than the footprints, more than the whispers of wind through the trees, is what truly made my blood run cold. That light had become my warning. Its silence now felt like a setup. I sat in the dark, flashlight pointed at the window, pulse pounding in my throat. The house felt smaller somehow, like the walls were drawing in. The quiet wasn't peaceful. It was expectant. Hours passed, nothing, not a flicker, not a sound. I almost started to believe it was over, that whatever had been out there had finally moved on. Then tap, tap, 2 gentle knocks, not from outside, from inside the glass. I froze. Every instinct screamed at me to move, to run, but my body refused. My breath misted in front of me even though the room was warm. Slowly, I raised the flashlight. The beam trembled across the curtains, then hit the glass. It was fogged up, and there, scrawled backward from the inside, was a single word: stay. I dropped the flashlight. It clattered against the floor, rolling under the bed. leaving the room in fractured, spinning beams of light. My heart slammed against my ribs. Someone or something had been inside. I lunged for the door, but the knob wouldn't turn. It was slick, wet somehow, like someone had been gripping it with muddy hands. I yanked harder. It wouldn't budge. Behind me, the window creaked, a slow, stretching sound like wood bending under weight. I turned just enough to see the curtain move. No wind, no draft, just movement. And then a shadow leaned forward, a silhouette pressed against the glass from the inside, its outline distorted, wrong, too long in the arms, too still in the head. My mouth went dry. I whispered, "Who's there?" The answer came, not in a voice, but in the rhythm. Tap, 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 right beneath my own reflection. That's when I realized the writing on the window wasn't on the glass at all. It was written on the inside of the reflection. I must have screamed, though I don't remember doing it. One moment that thing was behind the glass, its shadow stretching long and wrong across my floor, and the next, the room was full of red and blue lights flashing against the walls. The police came back. Same faces as before, but the jokes were gone. They moved slower this time. Careful, like they didn't want to touch the air itself. They searched everything. Attic, basement, crawl space, even behind the water heater. Nothing, not a footprint, not a broken latch, not even a sign that anyone had ever been in the house. But then the chief, a heavy man with a voice that sounded too tired for his badge, called me over. "Sir," he said, pointing at the window, "did you notice this?" The latch was bent outward, like someone had forced it closed from the inside. I didn't have words, just stared. The glass still held the faint outline of that word, "stay," half smudged, like a warning that didn't want to fade. They bagged a few samples, took photos, muttered things into radios. Before they left, the young officer, the same one who'd whispered to me before, looked at me differently this time. His hand lingered on the door. He said, "You sure you're alone out here?" I couldn't answer him, because I wasn't sure anymore. They told me to take a few days off work, maybe stay with family. I told them I'd be fine. I wasn't. That night, I dragged a blanket into the living room and left every light in the house blazing, the kind of light that kills shadows. I kept the TV on, low volume, just noise to remind me I was still awake. Sometime after midnight, I must have dozed off. When I woke, every light in the house was out, pitch black, and from somewhere down the hall, a soft click, the sound of a window latch slowly snapping open. It's been 4 days. The motion light hasn't flickered once. No knocks, no prints, no fogged glass with words that shouldn't exist. The police stopped calling. The neighbors, few as they are, pretend not to look my way when they drive past. Maybe they think I made it all up. The stress, the isolation, the grief twisting my mind after Hunter died. Maybe they're right. But nights are different now, too quiet. I hear every tick, every whisper of the house breathing around me. I keep telling myself I'll move, sell the place, leave this town behind. Yet every time I pack a box, I find myself standing by that same window, staring into the driveway, waiting. Because here's the thing, fear can feel like company when you've been alone long enough. And lately, I've started hearing something again. Not outside, not behind the glass, beneath me. When the house settles and the refrigerator hums, between those small sounds of life, there's something else. A faint dragging, slow, wet, heavy. It moves under the floorboards, tracing the shape of the room. Sometimes it stops directly below the window. Sometimes it pauses under my chair, like it's listening. I thought about tearing up the floor, finding it, ending this. But I don't, because I've realized something terrible. It only moves when it thinks I can't see it. So now I leave the lights off. I sit in the dark, pretending to sleep, listening to it move, inch by inch, closer to the wall, closer to me. And every so often, when the silence gets too thick, I whisper into the dark, "I see you." That's when it stops, only for a moment. Then the dragging starts again, slower this time, like it's smiling. If this story made your skin crawl, don't forget to like this video. It helps more people discover our channel and keeps stories like this alive. Subscribe for new horror stories every night, and share this one with someone who thinks they sleep too easily. Thank you for watching and listening. There's another story waiting for you on the screen right now. Go ahead, click it. I'll see you back here tomorrow, if the lights stay on. Static on Channel 7. The comfort of static. Yeah, that was my lullaby. That fuzzy hiss from an old Catho TV I picked up at a garage sale for 20 bucks. It sat in the corner of my living room, half broken, the picture warping every now and then into ghostly smears of light. To me, it wasn't noise, it was company. That soft, endless whisper that filled the silence after midnight, when the city outside went dead and the pipes in the walls started to hum like they had secrets. I lived alone back then, by choice, or at least that's what I told people. The truth was, I just didn't have anyone who wanted to stay. The static helped with that. It made the loneliness less sharp, the hours shorter. Sometimes I'd imagine the noise was ocean surf from some distant place, a reminder that there was still movement somewhere in the world, even if my life had gone still. Then one night, as I lay half asleep on the couch, the static stuttered. It was subtle at first, a hiccup, like the signal was trying to form an image but couldn't. I sat up, squinting at the screen, and in the distortion, the white noise folded into something else, a shape, a rhythm, and a voice. It said my name, softly, intimately. I blinked, heart punching against my ribs, staring at the empty gray shimmer. I thought I was losing it. Maybe I'd finally cracked from too much isolation, too many nights listening to the television instead of people. But before I could even convince myself it was all in my head, before I could laugh at how stupid it was, the voice came again. Open quote, "Don't look behind you." Close quote. And I swear I felt the air behind me move. Slow, heavy, breathing. That was the night I stopped sleeping to static, but the static didn't stop listening to me. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, the sound still echoing in my head, like the static had followed me into my dreams. I'd stumble into the living room, and the TV would be there, humming softly, even though I'd left it outside. I checked the wall socket, empty. I checked the cord, still severed. Yet the glow was there, pale and ghostly, like moonlight with a pulse. The voice had changed too. It no longer whispered my name like a question. It said it like it knew me, like it had always known me. Sometimes it sounded close, right beside my ear. Other times it came from deep within the static, buried beneath layers of faint screams and distant laughter. I tried everything, covering the TV with a sheet, unplugging every appliance, even sleeping at a friend's place. But no matter where I went, I heard it. That low hum seeping through the walls, through the vents, through my mind. My friend, Aaron, didn't believe me until he came over one night. We sat in the dark, waiting. I told him it wouldn't start unless the room was completely silent. Then it did. The screen crackled on by itself, the static blooming like a wound of light. Aaron's smirk faded as he turned to me. "Is this some kind of trick?" he whispered. Before I could answer, the voice spoke again. Not my name this time, his. Aaron stumbled back, eyes wide. The static warped, bending into faint shapes, faces pressed against the glass, distorted and shifting. I could see mouths moving, eyes blinking, hands clawing toward the inside of the screen. Aaron bolted for the door, shouting for me to smash the damn thing, but I couldn't move. I just stood there, mesmerized, because one of the faces, the one in the middle, was me. The same eyes, the same scar above my eyebrow. And behind that version of me, something else moved, something darker. When I finally ripped the cord from the wall, the screen went black, but only for a second. Then it flickered again, faintly, and whispered, open quote, "You can't unplug what's already inside." Close quote. That's when I realized something terrible. It wasn't the TV that was haunted. It was me. I stumbled back, the hammer slipping from my hand, clattering across the floor. My reflection, no, that thing, tilted its head at me, the same way I do when I'm trying to understand something. Only this time, the movement felt deliberate, mocking. Its grin stretched too wide, teeth too sharp, eyes too still. I whispered, "What are you?" And from inside the glass, my double answered, without sound, but perfectly mouthed words I somehow heard inside my head. Open quote, "I'm what watches when you sleep." Close quote. The static roared back to life, swallowing the room. Every light flickered, the air thickened, and a high-pitched tone cut through my skull like a blade. I fell to my knees, clutching my head while the television screen pulsed like a heartbeat. Mine or its, I couldn't tell. The images inside the shattered glass began to multiply, faces upon faces. I stumbled back, the hammer slipping from my hand, clattering across the floor. My reflection, no, that thing, tilted its head at me, the same way I do when I'm trying to understand something. Only this time, the movement felt deliberate, mocking. Its grin stretched too wide, teeth too sharp, eyes too still. I whispered, "What are you?" And from inside the glass, my double answered, without sound, but perfectly mouthed words I somehow heard inside my head. Open quote, "I'm what watches when you sleep," close quote. The static roared back to life, swallowing the room. Every light flickered, the air thickened, and a high-pitched tone cut through my skull like a blade. I fell to my knees, clutching my head, while the television screen pulsed like a heartbeat. Mine or its, I couldn't tell. The images inside the shattered glass began to multiply. Faces upon faces, hundreds, maybe thousands. Men, women, children, all whispering in unison, their mouths opening and closing like fish gasping for air. Each screen fragment reflected a different version of me, older, younger, bruised, bloodied, decaying. And then I heard them chant, open quote, "Stay with us, stay," close quote. I tried to run, but my body wouldn't move. My feet felt fused to the floor, like invisible hands were holding me there. The shards around the TV began to vibrate, lifting slightly, floating in the air like metal filings caught in a magnetic field. They turned, one by one, until each piece was facing me, showing my reflection. Then every reflection smiled. A force yanked me forward, into the glow. My chest slammed against the edge of the screen, my breath catching as I felt heat radiate from the shattered surface. My reflection moved closer, pressing its hands against the inside of the glass. Mine rose on instinct to meet it. For a second, we were fingertip to fingertip. Then it grabbed me. The shards sliced into my skin as the glass seemed to melt, pulling me in. My screen distorted into static. Every image on the screen blurred into one, until the last thing I saw was that version of me stepping out of the TV, brushing dust off its shoulders. It turned, looked around the room with my eyes, and whispered in my voice, open quote, "Finally, the channel's clear," close quote. I smashed the napkin holder to the floor and stumbled out into the cold night, heart clawing at my ribs. The streetlights buzzed overhead like angry insects, each one humming faintly, like static. I covered my ears, but the sound wasn't outside anymore, it was inside me. For days I kept moving, bus stations, cheap motels, nowhere twice. I stopped using my phone because every time I opened the camera, the screen would glitch for a split second. And in that glitch, my face would smile on its own again. I tried telling Aaron, but his number was disconnected. And when I checked his social media, his last post was a photo of a TV filled with snow. The caption read, open quote, "Finally, I can see clearly," close quote. That's when I realized I wasn't the only one. I found old message boards, dead forums with posts dating back to the early 2000s. People talking about Channel 7 static, about hearing whispers, about seeing themselves where they shouldn't. Every thread ended the same way. The user stopped posting after describing the smile. I started to wonder if maybe that's how it spreads, through the watchers, through anyone who sees it, hears it, or believes it. So I stopped watching TV, stopped listening to radios, stopped looking into mirrors for too long. But it's everywhere now. Digital billboards, phone screens, even reflections in water. Once I tried to film myself sleeping, just to prove to myself I was still me. When I checked the footage, I was gone. The bed was empty, but the TV, the one I'd thrown out weeks ago, sat glowing in the corner of the room. Everywhere I go, I feel it watching. Every reflection, every screen, carrying a faint pulse of static, waiting. Last night, I unplugged everything and sat in the dark, thinking maybe I could outrun it if I didn't give it light. Then, from the window across the street, I saw the faint blue flicker of another apartment's TV. Through the glass, my reflection stared back from their screen, smiling. And for the first time, I understood. You can leave the static behind, but once it finds your signal, it never leaves you. Now I live small. One lamp, paper books, curtains always drawn. I walk everywhere because car mirrors hum when I glance at them too long. And I keep the walls bare. No pictures, no reflections, no glass, just silence, or what passes for silence now. You see, the thing about static is it never really ends. It just waits between signals, between moments of stillness, and when the world goes quiet enough, you can almost hear it breathing again. Sometimes when I can't sleep, I think about that first night, the way it whispered my name, soft as breath, almost kind. I wonder if it ever wanted to hurt me at all, or if it just wanted to be seen. Maybe that's what we all want, deep down, to be witnessed, to not disappear into the noise. But I've learned something. When something in the dark wants to be seen that badly, you should never look. A few nights ago, the neighbor in the next apartment started complaining about interference on his TV. Some weird channel keeps coming on, he said. Looks like snow. You ever heard of Channel 7? I smiled, locked my door, and didn't answer. Now when I hear the faint static bleeding through the walls, I don't run anymore. I just sit quietly and let it pass. Maybe that's surrender. Maybe that's acceptance. Either way, I know the truth now. You can destroy the screen. You can leave the city. But once it's seen you, you're part of the broadcast. It's not watching through the screen anymore. It's watching through me. And if you're hearing this, if your speakers crackle, if your phone flickers while this video plays, maybe it's found you too. If you enjoyed Static on Channel 7, remember, some stories don't end when the video stops. If your screen starts flickering tonight, maybe don't look behind you. Like this video if it gave you chills, subscribe for more stories that keep you awake at night, and share it with someone who needs a reason to sleep with the lights on. Thanks for watching. There's another story waiting for you right now, handpicked on your screen. I'll see you on the other side of the static. The Woman Under the Bridge. It was one of those nights where even the rain felt alive, slapping the windshield like it was trying to warn me. Midnight, the kind of darkness that swallows headlights whole. The road shimmered beneath the storm, long and empty, and my wipers were the only heartbeat breaking the silence. I'd taken the back road to save time, the one that cut through the old bridge outside town. Locals called it Devil's Crossing. I called it a shortcut. The air inside the car was heavy, warm with the faint smell of coffee gone cold. I'd been driving for hours, eyelids tugging at sleep. You know that kind of exhaustion where the lines on the road start to drift together like your brain's playing tricks? That's where I was. Just a man trying to make it home before his mind started slipping into dreams. But then, headlights caught movement, a flicker of white against the drenched asphalt. I eased off the gas, squinting through the downpour. There she was, a woman standing beneath the bridge, soaked, barefoot, her hair plastered to her face like dark weeds from a riverbed. She was waving, slow, desperate, deliberate. I remember my stomach tightening, that primal kind of fear that comes before logic catches up. Still, I pulled over. Maybe it was guilt, maybe curiosity, or maybe something else, something that felt like compulsion. The rain softened for a moment, as if the world was holding its breath. She took one step forward, close enough that I could see her eyes, wide, unblinking, the kind of eyes that look through you, not at you. Then she whispered, voice trembling, "Please, my baby." And that's when I made the mistake. I rolled down the window. Hook line. I should have never rolled down that window. She led me under the bridge, barefoot, dripping, her dress clinging to her like it was part of her skin. The rain had slowed to a mist, but it was enough to keep the world blurred, like a half-remembered dream you can't shake off. I kept asking where her baby was, my voice catching somewhere between concern and dread. She didn't answer. She just kept walking, slow, measured, each step sinking softly into the wet earth. Her hair hung over her face, heavy and black, and I couldn't tell if she was crying or if the rain had made her that way. The air under the bridge felt wrong, colder, denser, like the night itself was holding its breath. Then she stopped. We were standing in the hollow belly of the bridge, where the concrete walls met the riverbank. That's when she lifted her arm, a pale, trembling hand pointing into the darkness. I followed the line of her finger. There it was, a crib. Small, wooden, half-sunken mud, its legs rotted and eaten away. A filthy blanket lay inside, hardened with dirt and something darker. I took one step closer, the smell hitting me first, damp wood, mold, and under it, something sour, metallic. My flashlight beam quivered as I reached out to touch the blanket. Then the light flickered. I turned to ask her what happened, but she was gone. No sound of movement, no splashes in the puddles, just the steady hiss of rain against concrete and the slow, creeping realization that I was completely alone. Hello? My voice cracked. It came back to me, echoing off the walls, hollow and thin. I backed away, my boots slipping in the mud, heart slamming so loud it almost drowned out the storm. I stumbled into the open, the rain colder now, harsher, like it wanted me gone. I sprinted to my car, slid into the driver's seat, and slammed the lock. My chest heaved, my hands shook. I tried to laugh. Maybe I'd imagined her. Maybe I'd fallen asleep behind the wheel, dreamed the whole damn thing. Then I saw it. The rearview mirror had fogged up from the inside, and right through the mist, one word appeared, written in a trembling hand. Where? She was in the back seat. I froze. My breath hitched. Every instinct told me not to look, but I did. Slowly, she was sitting in the back seat, soaking wet, hair hanging over her face, strands clinging to her cheeks, water pooled around her feet, soaking into the carpet. The smell hit me first, earth, rot, and something like rust. Her skin was pale as candle wax, and her eyes, hollow, dark, the kind you don't meet without feeling something inside you start to unravel. Her lips parted. When she spoke, her voice didn't sound human anymore. It came out like water bubbling through a drain. You left him there. The words didn't make sense. I stammered something, anything, but my throat wouldn't work. She tilted her head, a slow, unnatural tilt, like a puppet tugged by invisible strings. Her hand moved across the seat, pale fingers dragging mud across the leather. That was when I screamed. I kicked the door open and spilled out into the storm, boots slamming against the wet asphalt. The rain lashed at my face like needles. I turned back toward the car. The headlights flickered, throwing light across the bridge. Through the glass, I saw her shadow move, slow, graceful, like she was floating instead of walking. Then the lights blinked out. Total blackness. The wind howled under the bridge, the sound warping into what almost sounded like crying. I stumbled backward, calling out, "Where's your baby? What do you want from me?" No answer. Just the storm. Just the emptiness pressing in. I spun in every direction, but it was like the world had folded in on itself. Endless water, no road, no horizon. And then lightning struck. For one blinding instant, the bridge lit up like bone. And there she was, standing on top of it, holding something small, a bundle. It looked soft, fragile, wrapped in the same filthy blanket I'd seen in the crib. She turned her face toward me, and even from that distance, I could see her mouth move. One word, remember. Then she stepped off the bridge, quietly, almost peacefully, and vanished into the roaring river below. The rain stopped, the world went silent, and I realized my engine was still running. The river took everything. I don't remember running. I don't even remember the drive back. Just flashes, headlights cutting through rain, my reflection warping in the rear view, something pale shifting behind me that I refused to look at. When I came to, the world was still gray. Morning light, thin, sickly. I was in my driveway. The car engine was still ticking, faintly hissing from the rain. My shoes were caked in mud. The driver's seat was soaked, as if I'd climbed out of a river. Inside the house, everything felt foreign. My walls, my furniture, even the silence had weight to it, like it was watching me breathe. I stripped off my clothes, threw them in the sink, and just stared at my hands. Mud under every nail, bruises around my wrists I didn't remember getting. The phone rang. I jumped so hard I nearly slipped. It was the local news, playing on the old landline radio beside it. Some cheery morning anchor cutting through static. Authorities have discovered an abandoned vehicle beneath the old bridge early this morning. The car's doors were locked from the inside, engine still running, no sign of the driver. The words sank through me like ice water. They didn't give the license plate, but I didn't need to hear it. My heart already knew. I told myself it wasn't my car. It couldn't be. Maybe someone else took that cursed road. Maybe someone else saw her, but denial's a thin blanket against a storm like that. I went to the window, looked out toward the garage. The door was open, empty. The world went quiet again, except for the faint gurgle of drains like water whispering through pipes. My stomach turned. I could smell the river, faint but real, seeping through the cracks of the house. That night I dreamed of her. The bridge, the mud, the bundle. But this time, when she turned toward me, she was smiling, and the thing in her arms wasn't wrapped anymore. When I woke, my pillow was damp, like rain had fallen through the ceiling, and on the window pane beside my bed, someone had written a single word in dripping letters: home. The reflection in the rear view. Now every time I drive past that bridge, I see her. Not clearly, just shapes, flashes of white where there shouldn't be. Sometimes she's in the reflection of the rearview mirror, standing just far enough back that you can't see her face. Sometimes she's by the guardrail, head bowed, Rain streaming through her hair like it's still trying to wash something clean that can't be washed. People say a woman drowned there 20 years ago, trying to save her baby after her husband drove off the bridge drunk. They pulled the car out 2 days later, but never found the child. Locals still talk about how on stormy nights, you can hear her crying near the river, begging anyone who passes to help find her baby. I used to think it was folklore, the kind of story you tell to keep teenagers off back roads. But now I know better. She wasn't looking for help, she was looking for him. And that night, in the storm, when I stopped, she thought she'd found him. Maybe that's why she let me go. Or maybe I didn't really leave at all. Sometimes when I check the mirror, I still see the backseat fog over, faint and slow, like someone's breathing there. Sometimes I hear her whisper, soft, familiar, "Please, my baby." And every time it rains, I keep my eyes on the road. I don't stop. I don't look. Because I've learned something most people never will. Some cries for help aren't meant to be answered. So now I take the long way home. And when the rain starts falling hard, I keep driving. Because if you ever see her, don't roll down the window. If you enjoyed The Woman Under the Bridge, remember, your support helps this channel grow and keeps these stories alive. Hit the like button to help more listeners discover this series, subscribe for daily storytelling that keeps you on edge, and share this video with someone who loves a good scare. Thank you for listening and watching. There's another story waiting for you on your screen right now. Trust me, it's one you don't want to miss. I'll see you back here tomorrow.